An update from President Trump on the Wuhan virus and Dems making it political. War with Iran? Actually, not that far-fetched. And an uplifting video that has to do with the virus. All that's coming up right now on All Right. President Trump spoke today and declared a national emergency for the Wuhan virus, but it's actually not as bad as you think. I'm going to play for you in a second, at least a brief clip of what he said. He didn't declare it in order to say we're all going to die. And I've already seen headlines like that, and I hate that. Don't let the media fear-monger you into a state of panic over this whole thing. The only reason he declares a national emergency with the Wuhan virus is to free up funding for things. If you declare something's a national emergency, all of a sudden you don't have to wait for this red tape or that red tape. You can just say, okay, we're moving this money here. We're doing this there. We're stopping this. This medicine doesn't need as much of an approval anymore, and you move things more quickly. So it's all fine. Don't let that national emergency crap make you more worried than you already were. Here's the press.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency. Two very big words. The action I am taking will open up access to up to $50 billion of very important and a large amount of money for states and territories and localities in our shared fight against this disease. In furtherance of the order, I'm urging every state to set up emergency operation centers effective immediately. You're going to be hearing from some of the largest companies and greatest retailers and medical companies in the world. They're standing right behind me and inside of me. I'm also asking every hospital in this country to activate its emergency preparedness plan so that they can meet the needs of Americans everywhere. The hospitals are very engaged. New York and various other places are also very engaged. I just spoke with Governor Cuomo. We had a very good conversation, and we're working very strongly with many states, including New York.
There you have it. But I want to talk a little bit about how Trump looked and how Trump sounded. Awful. Absolutely awful. Donald Trump doesn't sound good. That's the word. Donald Trump is excellent at speaking off the cuff. He's excellent at giving speeches at rallies. I've seen him give 2-hour speeches before. But Donald Trump is in his 70s. Donald Trump is somebody who is more at risk than so many younger people for the coronavirus. He's also a man who has to meet 1 million people a day, travel all over the place, and as of this moment, the President of the United States still has not had a coronavirus test yet. I'm not saying that he hasn't, nor am I qualified to say so. Donald Trump looked and sounded exhausted, confused, lost his train of thought a couple times. That's not President Trump. It's just not. Sorry to be the one to say it out loud, but I'm not the only one who's thinking it. I was sure fielding a bunch of text messages during that press conference earlier today, and people saying, "Does Trump look okay? Does Trump look good? Trump looks bad." Come on now. He's the President of the United States. I think we can probably prioritize a test for him, maybe. Just putting that out there. As far as what it means for you, let us give you an update on it. Here are 3 things that have not changed with the Wuhan virus. 1, it spreads like wildfire. We know that. It does. It spreads fast. 2, it is deadly to old people with previous illnesses. But 3, it is not really dangerous for most of you. It's just not. I'm not telling you to be dismissive of the whole thing. I'm not. Wash your hands. Take some precautions, especially if you work or live or visit with old people. Be careful about that. Remember, we've had 40-some deaths here in the United States of America. 20-some of those came from one nursing home. So if you're dealing with people who are old, be more careful. I'm not telling you not to do anything, but I am telling you, look at these lines at Costco. We have lines going out the door of people buying toilet paper at Costco. What are we doing here? What are we doing? This is the United States of America. Get your head on straight. Stop letting the media ramp you up into a frenzy about things. Buck up, Buttercup. And I'll tell you something else, and you can disagree with this, and you decide what to do with your own health in your own life. I'm a young, relatively healthy male. Even if I had symptoms of coronavirus right now, I would not go get tested. Why? Because there aren't very many tests. Now, you heard earlier from President Trump's speech the ramping up the amount of tests they're getting, but right now there aren't that many tests, and old people who actually need them need those tests. So yes, if you're some 22-year-old college chick and you get the sniffles, please don't run down to the nearest hospital and scarf up one of the few Wuhan virus tests that are out there. Leave the tests for the people who are actually in danger. We have actual doctors saying, even if you had it as a younger person, even if they diagnosed you with it, they're going to give you some fluids, some ibuprofen, and rest. You can do that in your house very comfortably without snatching up the precious few resources that we have out there. I know that's controversial. You make your own decisions with your own life. Don't be ridiculous about it. And speaking of ridiculous, Democrats making this political, media making this political. This is not the Trump virus. This is the Wuhan virus. We're trying to wrap our arms around it. Nobody's ready for it as soon as it gets there. Then you get ready for it. You take the smart steps. You do things like Trump did today. But we've got crap like this from Biden. What does this help anybody?
The World Health Organization now has officially declared COVID-19 a pandemic. Downplaying it, being overly dismissive, or spreading misinformation is only going to hurt us and further advantage the spread of the disease. But neither should we panic or fall back on xenophobia. Labeling COVID-19 a foreign virus does not displace accountability for the misjudgments that have been taken thus far by the Trump administration. Let me be crystal clear. The coronavirus does not have a political affiliation. It will infect Republicans, independents, and Democrats alike, and will not discriminate based on national origin, race, gender, or zip code. It will touch people in positions of power as well as the most vulnerable in our society. And it will not stop. Banning all travel from Europe or any other part of the world may slow it, but as we've seen, it will not stop it. And travel restrictions based on favoritism and politics rather than risk will be counterproductive.
Oh, okay. Based on favorite, we don't want to be selective with travel restrictions. So we should take somebody who has the coughs and 10 people who don't have the coughs, and we should put the person with the coughs next to Joe Biden, hang out with him for the day? No, that'd be irresponsible, right? Europe has just been declared the epicenter of the Wuhan virus. So, yeah, you can't come from Europe. Oh, we shouldn't be doing this. Europe did this to themselves. Why? Because the European Union has thrown open the borders and now anybody can flood in. And while China was being ravaged by this thing and people were fleeing China, Europe said, come on in, welcome. And now we have whole countries like Italy on lockdown. This absolute lunacy I've seen from the left. Wow, we can't really be selective. We don't want to try to be racist about the whole. It's from China. It's from China. That's not racist. That's where it began. We know that's where it began. My word, these people are insane, and they would kill you in order to be politically correct. They would. Here's Nancy Pelosi.
In 2018, the president dismantled the people who were in the National Security Agency. That's a National Security Agency has had, again, experts there to anticipate, to prepare, to foresee, to be an insurance policy against something like this happening. The president dismantled that, let those people go, and never replaced them. That was a very big mistake. In addition to which, he has, in his cutting of things, cut in his budget, even after he knew about the coronavirus, cut $700 million out of the CDC budget.
Oh, well, that makes me feel better that person is one of the leaders of the country. That 1 minute clip we just played you there should have taken about 15 seconds, but with and she's insulting somebody else. It's serious. All right. We got Ken LaCourte to talk about all this. Hang on. Joining me now is Ken LaCourte of LaCourte News, the man who's rapidly becoming one of my sharper guests I have on this show. Ken, before we get to the substance of what the president said, which I liked very much, man, I'm sorry if this is uncomfortable, but I thought he looked and sounded like crap. Yeah, I thought he looked worse than I'd ever seen him. He kept losing his train of thought. He looked exhausted. And because he is in that age bracket, I know for a fact he hasn't been tested yet. They've been honest about that. Can we get the leader of the free world a Wuhan virus test, please?
You know, what I think you saw was him in careful mode. Most of the time he goes out and he starts it and he's like a talk show host, game show host sometimes when he goes on some of his riffs. I think that this was important enough. If you also notice, he was reading most of what he said as well. So he had a little lower energy. He was definitely reading things and kind of going through it piece at a time. There was almost no ad-libbing, and I think that what you're seeing is probably more a reflection of that. He can get a test if he wants one. He's a big boy.
All right, fine. You're always the voice of reason on this show. As far as the substance of what he said, look, I'm a small government guy. Everybody knows that. And I am like a draconian small government guy. I just slash the whole thing to the ground if I could, but I can't. However, when we have, things like a pandemic, I understand the federal government has to do some things to get their arms around it. Are you uncomfortable with anything you heard today? You thrilled with everything you heard? You okay?
I thought it was the first time that I had ever heard a president in a situation like this talk and work and talk about that government and private industry coordination and tackling this problem together. I found that refreshing. I found that wonderful. Past presidents and other things would have been, well, we're setting up tents from the CDC in these parking lots and whatnot. But this was a lot, talking about Google as setting up the front end into testing procedures and bringing up the captains of industry. I mean, look, this is where science is being fixed and created and researched, in the United States more than anything. And it's not as much at the CDC as it's in private industry. So to bring these two entities and many, many entities together, I thought was a brilliant businessman-like of approach. I'm sure the media will hate it. I'm sure something will happen at the latter half of this one where they say, oh, look, he said the word poop, and it'll all be about that. I found it refreshing and something I have never seen before from a president of the United States.
What are you doing? What precautions are you taking? Look, I'll be honest with you, and you can say it's irresponsible, and maybe it is. I haven't changed a daggone thing. I was at an arcade yesterday. I was at a restaurant yesterday. I was at the gym. I played basketball with my sons this morning. I'm just not changing anything, but a lot of that's because of our age, too. What are you doing?
Exactly the same as you're doing. Look, I think that we as Americans know that, okay, probably the number of cases that they think are out there is underreported because a lot of people never knew they had it, or it, kind of ramps up before it becomes publicly known that it ramps up. But I'm in a city with millions of people, and there are 5 people with it. I didn't put a cage over my head when Skylab came down, and I'm not going to do it now. If that gets to a more substantive, once they get 1,000 people in a thing, okay, then math starts to say, don't go to restaurants. Try to isolate yourself a little bit more. Do the elbow bump instead of the handshakes. But so far, I'm riding this out.
Can I have look? I never like to go full extremist when it comes to, the Democrat Party is part of the Communist Party. And I mean, look, obviously they have some tendencies that way. But what am I supposed to think, Ken, when we had the President of the United States call it the Wuhan virus, then China immediately comes out and yells about us calling it that. And then the Democrats and half the media start parroting that line that we shouldn't call it that and that is somehow racist, when that's where it came from. That's why you name things. That's why you named Lyme disease. I mean, that's what you do with these. But now, I mean, they have the same message. What do I make of that?
I mean, these are the same national media that when we killed terrorists acted as apologists for him. I think that, look, you got a lot of things going on. This media hype is for ratings, it's for money, but a good chunk of that is we're going to get them this time. We went through years of Russia, we went through all of their hyperactive things that kind of fell at the wayside. This could be a pretty serious thing. This may end up infecting millions of people in America over time, and we don't really know any of that right now, but it's probably hard to keep that genie in the bottle. But the media sees this as their best chance now to elect Joe Biden and to harm the president. I mean, from the very get-go. Look, the New York Times was the best. I tweeted a thing up today, side by side of them saying it's racist to call it the Wuhan virus, and 4 weeks ago, their tweet calling it the Wuhan virus. They're just they would use any little wedge that they can get. And at first, don't you remember when he started saying, we're going to slow down flights from China, we're going to put them in through 11 airports. What was the media reaction? He's a xenophobe. He's a terrible person. Chuck Schumer said he's doing this as an excuse to, oh God, I wish I had the exact quote, but he said he's doing this because he doesn't like immigrants. And then it was, you didn't move fast enough. And now it's like the testing isn't going, they're going to find what they can do and do their exact best job to dump it onto the president, no matter what happens. But 48% of America now sees through them.
Well, you and I are both hardcore politicos, so we're probably the worst people to answer a question like this. But I get the sense, I mean, we even have daily approval numbers out that are kind of backing this up. I get the sense that the American people are pretty okay with the job Trump is doing on this thing, that they're not looking at it as some big indictment on the Trump administration. Is that what you're seeing?
I'm seeing it reflected like every other issue is reflected. I mean, I think they're doing a pretty good job. Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened with the testing. It seems like they're getting ahead of the curve. On the other hand, my mother-in-law is like, I can't believe Donald Trump let this happen. So there is that other part. I think 48% of America is going to blame him for any real or perceived issue as much as they can. I mean, we are that divided in America. So, he's got the 90% of the media and 45% of people blaming him no matter what. He's got his supporters and one TV show and a couple web broadcasts on the other side.
Well, look, the real heroes out there are those of us who have to deal with our mother-in-law during this whole thing. Ken LaCourte of LaCourte News. Ken, we'll talk to you again soon, my man.
Great being here. Take care.
We got a lot more show tonight, and guess what? I'm not going to barrage you with more Wuhan stuff. Hang on. Look, everybody's seen what I'm about to show you, okay? But this was the math error heard round the world. Amara Gay of the New York Times went on with Brian Williams on MSNBC and broke down something weapons grade dumb. Just enjoy.
But you see it as a possibility if he wants to spend $1 billion beating this guy, he could do it.
Absolutely. Somebody tweeted recently that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
I've got it. Let's put it up on the screen. When I read it tonight on social media, it kind of all became clear. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads. U.S. population, 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million and have had lunch money left over. It's an incredible way of putting it.
It's an incredible way of putting it. It's true. It's disturbing. It does suggest, what we're talking about here, which is there's too much money in politics.
Now, I dropped algebra a few times. I'm not going to lie. I'm certainly not Stephen Hawking over here. But that doesn't seem to work out at all. It's just a little news segment, and everybody underneath the sun mocked her and had a good time. You say something that dumb on television, not that I would know anything about that, but you say something that dumb on television, you're going to get made fun of. And hey, that's the business we're in. You want to get on TV, you want to get on the radio and spout your opinions off, you're eventually going to say something dumb that's going to get you dragged through the social media sewer for it. That's just life. That's life. Buck up, Buttercup. And so, of course, she got trashed for it, and it lasted for about less than a day. We were all bored, and we said something funny at her expense, and we moved on. No big deal, right? It's really not a big deal, okay? She can't do math. Fine. But then the lady writes some long article for the New York Times using words like Uncle Tom and others, saying how she's this horrible victim of racism against black people because people were making fun of her for being a moron when it comes to math. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people on the left who were always dying to be a victim of something? And let's say, I mean, look, we clearly have had lots of racism against black people in this country, right? I mean, everyone has read the history books, civil rights and slavery and all these things, horrible, awful things, terrible things. Don't the people who actually lived through real racism deserve better than having Mara Gay water down everything they ever fought for, everything they had to endure? Isn't that most insulting to them? Also, if you're one of these parents who raises your child, and look, there are a lot of people on the right who do this too, especially when it comes to the female thing. Well, honey, you've been oppressed. Women are really oppressed here. You're oppressed. You're going to be oppressed. You're oppressed. You're a victim. You're a victim. Let's say that's your situation. Do you understand what kind of a person you're setting up your child to be, right? Look, we can have that argument all day long about whether you are oppressed or aren't. But let's say it's 100% true, and it's basically The Handmaid's Tale, and these women are beaten down and oppressed, and you're a victim, and it's basically some, horrible situation out there for women in America. Let's actually say I agree with you, and that's true. All right, so that's true. Even in that situation, does it help your child to be raised with that mindset? With a victim mindset? Who wants that for their kid? Then you grow up to be a loser. You don't want your child to grow up to be a loser. Raise your child to have an overcome obstacles mindset instead of a built-in, I'm a victim, excuse-making mindset. Even if you believe it to be true all the way, how does it help your child? And don't you, as a parent, want what's best for your kid? Not what makes you feel good. Not your I am woman, hear me roar stuff. Don't you want your kid to be happy and healthy and successful and at peace? Have you ever seen one of these people who makes their living whining about how they're a victim of something and thought to yourself, man, look at that person. Cool as a cucumber, got things figured out, nice and at peace. No, they're all like this, miserable all the time, always complaining about something, always the victim about something. You don't want your child to grow up like that. So even if you believe ironclad America's racist or America's sexist or whatever it is, don't raise your kids like that. Otherwise, your kid ends up being a loser like Mara Gay, who not only can't do math, now the whole country knows she's a race-baiting loser. You don't want that. You don't want that. Also, I realize this is a bit of a change of gears here, but let me tell you something. I can't do an hour of Wuhan virus anymore, and I'm not going to. And I know you've been beaten over the face with nothing but this thing for the past couple weeks. So here's my commitment to you. We're not doing that on this show. I'm going to give you the important updates. I may have to lead the show with it because there's something new coming down the pipe every single day. I am not going to just waterboard you with Wuhan virus stuff all day long. I won't do it. I can't do it to myself. I can't do it to you. So let's go to Iran. Iran just attacked us again. Now, it happened in Iraq. It was an Iranian-backed militia group that launched a couple rockets into our base in Iraq, killed 2 Americans, killed 1 Brit. And more than any of that, I got my hands on a picture of the rocket system they used. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details on the rocket system. I'll just say this. This wasn't a couple of idiots out, in Jerkwater, Iraq, who threw this together using old PVC pipe and some Scotch tape. It was a professional operation, meaning it was Iran. And we know it was Iran. And I'm not saying you need to put this on the front burner of your life right now and keep your eyes on this situation. Iran's economy's in the toilet. It was in the toilet before they got ravaged by the Wuhan virus. Now they got people dying from the Wuhan virus. If you believe them, they've got mass graves they're already dug trying to fill them up. And now they're taking cheap shots at us. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but I'll tell you this, there's something going on there. There's something going on there. Keep your eyes on it. We're going to talk to Drew Berkowitz about that. And then I actually have an uplifting Wuhan video. All that's still to come. Hang on. Before we get to my friend Drew, I want to play this little Mara Gay soundbite again for him. Drew, listen up.
But you see it as a possibility if he wants to spend $1 billion beating this guy, he could do it.
Absolutely. Somebody tweeted recently that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
I've got it. Let's put it up on the screen. When I read it tonight on social media, it kind of all became clear. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads. U.S. population 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million and have had lunch money left over. It's an incredible way of putting it.
It's an incredible way of putting it. It's true. It's disturbing. It does suggest, what we're talking about here, which is there's too much money in politics.
Every part of that makes me laugh. Joining me now, my friend, former counterterrorism officer and current host of This Is My Show with Drew Berkowitz. Drew, I don't know what I love more, the stupidity of what they said, that they really dug into that stupidity, or the fact that Mara Gay then came out afterwards with an article in the New York Times saying everybody who made fun of her for that was a racist.
Yeah. No, I think the whole thing's fantastic, too, because they literally not only get the math so remarkably wrong, but then they're standing there saying how incredible the numbers are. They are incredible. They're incredibly wrong. You're so far. It was $1.53 per person. Quite a stark contrast between that and $1 million. But yeah, I mean, the claims that people now are, because look, I made fun of her too. I think everyone did. I think you have a moral obligation to go after someone in that circumstance there. But I mean, the fact that they just leveled back with you're racist, you're this, that, and the other. I mean, and really, she went pretty deep and dark in her response too. Referencing Uncle Tom and lots of stuff. So the whole thing was absurd, but it's good TV. It was fun for people like us to sit back and watch and be able to talk about it now.
It was fun. And I guess here's what bothers me, man. And look, neither of us are black, so I can't speak to that. But I see this mentality across the spectrum in the United States of America. Pick your newest victim group out there. And my issue is, okay, she said something dumb. That's actually not the end of the world. Look, I can't math either. I have a calculator, and that's why they pay me to do this instead of doing math. Okay, you made a mistake on television. Say I'm sorry or whatever, or just ignore it and move on. That's fine. But to act as if the backlash for that is racist, and you're right, that article was jaw-dropping. It was Uncle Tom this, and I mean, you'd have thought she was Rosa Parks. My issue is the people who have been victims of racism or are currently victims of racism, they're not the ones calling her out. I have to call her out. You have to call her out. Do people not understand that when Americans hear the word racism now, they almost all reflectively go, oh, gosh. And that's not because we're okay with racism. It's because idiots like this use it when it's not appropriate and it waters down the word. The word's meaningless now.
Yeah, there's so many words. I mean, we've watered down hero. We've watered down terms like that, all those things. And you've got her playing this victim card. She also tried to equate her situation to, referencing what Monica Lewinsky must have felt like and what she went through with all the national pressure. It's like, no one cares about you, sweetheart. We're going to talk about this for a couple days and move on. We're still kind of talking about Lewinsky, your math skills. And to your point, my math skills aren't great either, but I've got an iPhone. That's what it's for. I think that's what it's for. But yeah, I mean, this is gonna move on. She doubled down so hard in her article and her tweets and everything that happened in the aftermath. It's just remarkable.
All right, I know people are shocked by this, but there are actually things going on in the world that are not related to the Wuhan media virus right now. And one of those things is the fact that our base in Iraq just got hit by a rocket and killed 2 Americans. No one seems to be paying attention. No one seems to care. Drew, we retaliated. I tried to break it down as best I could to explain to people this rocket system they used was not, somebody didn't make this in their basement. This wasn't some jerkwater militia. What's still happening there?
Yeah, I think, look, we've created a situation that we do time and time. We're we're great at killing bad guys and taking care of a situation, but then we're really good at leaving and creating this vacuum and then having to come back again and again and again. We've seen it in Iraq, we've seen it in Afghanistan. You and I have seen it firsthand. But you see what's happening here, and it's basically, to your point, some people said, well, it was ISIS. It was this. No, it wasn't ISIS. This is almost everything that happens in Iraq is because of Iran. So there are so many Shia militia groups that are funded by their buddies in Iran that want to just destroy the region. They want to make sure that they always have a hand at the table in Baghdad and really beyond Iraq, beyond the borders of Iraq and throughout the region. So they are definitely behind this. They arm and equip people. They have their hand in all of these operations that happen in and out of Iraq. So when this came through, it was very, very clear. First of all, you've seen the tensions that have been going on between the U.S. and Iran, particularly since January, when they really, really escalated. But this is just, look, the Iranian government is funding and equipping these groups who want to go after Americans. They want to go after American allies. They want to go after Israel. And this was something that, frankly, I'm glad that we retaliated and went after some of the munitions. And the Pentagon said, look, this was a fair and measured response, retaliatory response for what they did. We lost 2 people. The Brits lost 1. At some point, we've got to get even tougher on these guys and all of their groups that they're funding and helping operate throughout the region.
I think it's hard for some people to understand, so I need you to explain it in a better way than I could. Why doesn't Iraq kick out Iran and Iran's militias? What's the dynamic there?
I think that ultimately Iraq, Afghanistan, all of these partners know that we put our toe in the water and then we dive in, but we get out pretty quickly, and then there's a lot of uncertainty that comes with that. So they've had Iran, and frankly, it's the same situation for Afghanistan because Iran touches both countries. But they've had Iran backing them, giving them money, giving them resources throughout a long time. So that is trusted. Do they like them? No. Do they need them? Yes. And they've had that relationship for a long time, and they know that Iran can just bring all sorts of chaos and violence to the region, more than there already is, if they don't play nice. So I think part of it is, look, we're going to help you. You're going to push our ideas and philosophies, and you're going to help shelter some of the groups that we're working with and training in your region and throughout your country. And for doing that, we're going to give you this. And I think that's kind of just how the relationship has been. Baghdad has always bowed to the wishes and wants of the folks in Tehran.
Drew Berquist, host of This Is My Show with Drew Berquist. Before we go, I have to ask, everyone else needs to know, what is the Berquist family doing to protect yourself against the Wuhan virus? Nothing? Everything? Are you currently broadcasting from a bunker?
We're definitely not in a bunker. We've got lots of bourbon. People say stock up on stuff, so we've stocked up on bourbon, steak, all the things that's important, because I don't want other people buying all that stuff up. But we're just going to try and be smart and kind of carry on with life. I think people are making this a big deal. I think you do need to be smart, but get the necessities. For us, it's steak and bourbon.
Nothing wrong with that, my man. Drew, I appreciate you.
Yeah, you too. Have a great weekend.
All right, we have a good Wuhan virus story. You'll see. Hang on. Obviously, the Wuhan virus has been ravaging Italy. It was big in Korea. Now it looks like Korea's got a handle on it. From what we understand, but granted, we don't understand much because of those dirty commies, China has some kind of a handle on it. But it's really been kicking the crap out of Italy. They've had a lot more deaths over there. They have this universal health care system. They're rationing care. They're already talking about not giving care to old people. They've locked down the country. I have a buddy who was getting ready to fly to Italy, and the night before, the prime minister of Italy locked down all the public areas. Like, there's no place to go. They've essentially locked people, the country, in their homes. So there's this Italian city of Siena, and everyone's locked in their homes. And this little video came out of them throwing open the windows and just singing together. And you know what? I thought it was freaking cool. Enjoy. Every now and then it pays just to celebrate the human spirit and the spirit of togetherness. And also, somebody needs to shut their dog up. Almost ruined the video. Y'all hang in there. See you Monday.